Nintendo. This company has been around since 1889 and has been making games since the 80s. Now, some may believe that Nintendo's not made any mistakes in the past, but you'd be wrong. Very, very wrong. In fact, Nintendo has a large amount of mistakes, some minor, some major. These mistakes are what I'm going to be talking about today. Before I get on with the video, I want to say a few things. First of all, the channel recently hit 200 subs, which is pretty neat. I want to do something special for this, but I just can't think of something. Also, I know there will be people in the comments going all, "Oh, you hate Nintendo, you just want to point out mistakes they made to try and run them out of business." And that's not true. I love Nintendo. They're my favorite video game company, but sometimes it's good to look back on mistakes so that they won't happen again. Anyway, let's talk about their first major mistake, the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Now, picture this. It's the 90s. You hear about a movie based off of Super Mario Bros. Sounds like a good idea, right? Yes, it is. Did the movie use that idea well? No, not even close. The Super Mario Bros. Movie is pretty bad. I don't really need to tell you why it's bad, you should know, but in case you don't, I'll tell you. This movie barely even represents Mario. Its plot is really bad, poor characterization, and look at this. I'll let you guess what this is supposed to be. That's a Goomba. Now here's the thing, I want to see another Mario movie. The concept of a Super Mario movie is not a bad idea at all. The problem is that the movie has a bad plot, characterization, and representation of Mario. Look at how the Detective Pikachu in the Sonic movie turned out. Those turned out great. Imagine if a Mario movie was like those two. I don't really have much more to say about this. I'm not gonna watch this, and I would recommend you don't either, no matter how big of a Mario fan you are. This next one I know many of you were expecting. That's right, let's talk Virtual Boy. The Virtual Boy was made to be a device to be a VR experience. It was 1995. The Virtual Boy was a massive failure and only had 14 games released in America. This system was released just as a way too ahead of its time situation. I feel like if Nintendo released a Virtual Boy 2 now with much better technology, kinda like what you see in an Oculus VR headset, it would sell decently at the least. I mean, they kinda did with the Labo VR accessory for the Switch and the 3D gimmick of the 3DS. I would love to have a Virtual Boy myself and use it, but it's too damn expensive. The reason why the system failed is due to high price, poor visuals, and health concerns with players getting sick from playing it for too long. Yeah, some players got headaches, vomiting, and other health concerns like eye strain from using this. Overall, this is, to many, Nintendo's biggest mistake. But I'd like to argue they had a bigger mistake, which I'll talk about right now. Now, let's talk about the SNES. No, I'm not saying the SNES was a mistake, don't worry. But a cancelled add-on is, in my opinion, the biggest mistake of Nintendo's. At one point, Nintendo had partnered with Sony to release a CD add-on for the Super Famicom, or SNES as we know it. After Sony revealed the add-on, Nintendo cancelled the partnership with Sony to work with Philips instead. Not only did this add-on never come out, neither with Sony or Philips, but the abrupt cancellation led Sony to use what they learned developing the add-on that they made the PlayStation, a console which over the years has beaten Nintendo in sales time and time again. Now some may argue that the contract favored Sony too much and that Nintendo would be losing money releasing the add-on. While this is true, the money Nintendo lost over the years from gamers switching to the PlayStation with more power and third-party support is a much bigger loss for them compared to if they released the add-on. Also, something else I should mention is that the PlayStation 2 is what led Microsoft into making the Xbox because it was damaging the PC gaming market at the time. So I guess you could say that Nintendo somewhat accidentally helped create the Xbox, which beat Nintendo's GameCube that generation. So that wasn't good for Nintendo. Also, the contract with Philips allowed them to make games using Nintendo characters on their Philips CDI. Let's talk about those now. Yeah, these games aren't good. In total, there are 4 games released on the CDI with Nintendo characters. 1 Mario, 3 Legend of Zelda. The most well-known 3 are Hotel Mario, Link the Faces of Evil, and Zelda the Wand of Gamelon. But there was also Zelda's Adventure and the unreleased Super Mario Wacky Worlds and Mario Takes America. I'll mainly focus on the well-known 3, so let's quickly go by the others. Zelda's Adventure actually has a kind of interesting plot. Link has been captured and Zelda has to rescue him. It kind of reminds me of Super Princess Peach, where Mario is captured and Peach must rescue him. The gameplay is top-down, like A Link to the Past or the original Legend of Zelda. It's also the only Zelda game to have live-action segments. Now, I'm no mega fan of Zelda, I'm only just getting into the series. I've been playing Twilight Princess and I will be playing more in the series once I beat it, but I can tell this game isn't good. There was also a cancelled Mario game on the CDI, Super Mario Wacky Worlds. The game was going to be a sequel of sorts to Super Mario World, but was cancelled due to declining sales of the CDI. Another cancelled one was Mario Takes America. It was supposed to be Mario going to Hollywood and making his own movie. This got cancelled as Phillips didn't like how development was going. Now let's talk about the big three. First up is Hotel Mario. Hotel Mario was made as a puzzle game where you play as Mario going from hotel to try and find Peach to rescue her. At the end of each hotel, you fight a Koopaling, with Bowser in the final one. The game is not good. It was criticized for its unresponsive controls, bad game mechanics, and bad cutscenes. Just look at this.
Nice of the princess to invite us over for a picnic, eh, Luigi? I hope she made lots of spaghetti!
It's so bad. It's so bad that it isn't considered canon, and Nintendo never acknowledges its existence. Link the Faces of Evil and Zelda the Wand of Gamelon were both released on the same day. The games are pretty similar, it's just they have different stories. In The Faces of Evil, you control Link as he goes through Kurodai, I think that's how you pronounce it, and rescue Zelda. Zelda, the Wand of Gamelon, has you go through Gamelon and rescue Link. They play like Zelda 2 on the NES, and surprisingly enough, they got mixed to positive reviews when they released. However, like Hotel Mario, they have gone on to become infamous and the worst Zelda games. And again, look at this.
Gee, it sure is boring around here.
My boy, this piece is what all true warriors strive for.
Don't play these. Now, this next mistake is quite a big one. I'm talking about the Nintendo 64 using cartridges. In this era of gaming, the switch to discs was big. Everyone was doing it. The Sega Saturn and more notably the PlayStation both used discs, while Nintendo stuck with cartridges. This was a major mistake as it made it way harder for third-party developers. First off, discs are way cheaper to make compared to cartridges, which made the companies more money and made the games cheaper to make. Also, discs can hold way more storage than a cartridge. PS1 games usually maxed out at about 650 megabytes, while N64 cartridges could only have 64 megabytes of storage. This is really not good for developers, as it made many games impossible to port to the system, and many just made games for the PlayStation. This made many people go with the PlayStation, as many developers like Capcom and Square made games for that system instead. Now, this next one is one that I really wish Nintendo didn't make. So you guys know Rare, right? They're the people behind classics like Banjo-Kazooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day, GoldenEye 64, and Donkey Kong Country. They were such great game developers and worked with Nintendo through the 90s. Nintendo owned about 49% of the company at the time, but they didn't fully own the company. In the early 2000s, however, Rare needed another company to buy them. There were 3 companies that offered to buy them: Nintendo, Activision, and Microsoft. In the end, Microsoft won and bought them for $375 million. Nintendo really should have bought them when they had the chance. Imagine what we could have gotten if Nintendo had fully bought them. They could have been such a great developer for them. The fact that they didn't still confuses me. Maybe we could have gotten like a sequel to Conker's Bad Fur Day, maybe more Banjo-Kazooie games. Like, it just could have been so much better if Nintendo had bought them. Now the GameCube. You know it, one of Nintendo's most popular consoles, but it has one glaring issue: the mini-discs. At first, the mini-discs don't seem like an issue. Nintendo tried to avoid piracy, so they made the disc small. This did have major issues for others, however. The small size of the discs meant they couldn't hold as much data as a regular disc, so like with the last generation, third parties had a hard time developing for the system. Along with that, the system could not play DVDs like the PS2 could, at a time when DVD players were expensive. This factor led to the PS2 vastly outselling the GameCube and made the GameCube kind of a failure when you look at its sales. I mean, when you compare it to a console that sold over 150 million and you look at it with only 22 million units sold, you know, that's kind of sad. Oh boy, the Wii. This time with a U in it. The Wii U was a massive flop, and it's easy to see why. I could probably make an entire video discussing why it failed, but I'll focus on the marketing. The marketing was really bad. Nintendo focused so much on the gamepad that people thought the gamepad was a $300 controller for the Wii. The name also is garbage and didn't help people distinguish it from the Wii. I feel like a different name would have gone a long way to help the console. Also, the ads are absolute cringe. God, it's been so long since I've used that word. They focus on kids trying to convince their parents to buy them a Wii U. Would you really want a console if the ads were like,
hot button popcorn, that's a thing?
No, you wouldn't. And the very unfortunate part is that Nintendo did not fix this through the Wii U era. Imagine how much better the Wii U would have done if it had much better commercials than this. Another big problem with Nintendo is their handling of fan projects and emulation. Nintendo is infamous for taking down fan games that use their franchises like Mario and Pokemon. This is really unfortunate as fan games like Pokemon Uranium have been worked on a lot and they just get taken down. Imagine you work for months, maybe a year or two to try and make a Pokemon fan game. You think it's great, it gets popular, everyone likes it, and then Nintendo takes it down and no one can play it anymore. This happens way too often. Nintendo used to get really annoyed with YouTubers who had their Nintendo games on their video. They would copyright claim any video with Nintendo games in it, so the creator wouldn't make any money. Then they created the Nintendo Creators Program, a way for YouTubers to get paid, as long as they paid Nintendo a little bit of the revenue. This was an improvement, but still wasn't good. Eventually, they dropped the program. Now let's talk about the emulation issue. Emulation is what has been used for years to preserve old games for people to play for free. They just need an emulator and a ROM. Nintendo has been taking down sites that contain ROMs to Nintendo games. Sometimes it makes sense. If they are still re-releasing Super Mario Bros. 3, they don't want me downloading it for free. That makes sense, and it also makes sense that they don't want me downloading ROMs to Switch games. But when I use emulators, I use it for games Nintendo isn't re-releasing. So why is Nintendo going against emulation for games they don't make or put on online stores anymore? The only way to play Mario Sunshine, for example, without emulation is on console. The only way to get the games on console are from sites like eBay and Amazon or retro game stores. Hi, this is just something I have to edit in, so, I wrote this script, before the Mario Direct, where they announced that Mario Sunshine will be coming to the Switch in the Super Mario 3D All-Stars. They hadn't announced that yet, it was just like a rumor when I wrote this script and recorded this. So, yeah, they announced it after I, wrote this, so just pretend I didn't say Mario Sunshine, just pretend I said, like, Pokemon Coliseum or something. Anyway, back to the video. None of these do Nintendo make profit. It doesn't make sense and it is annoying. I wish Nintendo stopped this. And finally, let's end things off with one last thing. One thing that is affecting us right now. I'm talking about Nintendo Switch Online. First off, the online itself. Oh my god, this is not good. The games are so laggy and this used to be free. When we were expected to pay for online, you'd think they'd improve it. Well, nope. If you don't know how laggy online is, do a few games of Mario Maker 2 online or Smash Bros. Online. You'll see what I mean. Nintendo really needs to fix this if they expect people to still play online. Now, me personally, I don't pay to play online games. I pay for the NES and SNES games. This is still not good though. The games come out at a snail's pace on this. Sure, we have almost all major titles you would want on the NES and SNES, but why not push out the major titles faster, or even better, and 64 games added? If you have Nintendo 64 games and maybe even GameCube games on there, this is where Nintendo would be making the big bucks. Nintendo 64 and GameCube are the big nostalgia moneymakers for Nintendo. Everyone wants to play them. Putting them up would make a lot more people pay for online. Even if they only put up like 5 games of each to start, that would already make it worth it. Also, GameCube games have never been re-released on the Virtual Console, so those especially need to be put on the Switch. This would be great for the service and would instantly make Nintendo money. So overall, Nintendo has made many mistakes. Each generation of consoles has at least one mistake from them. Also, again, I'm not pointing out these mistakes to make Nintendo look bad. I'm doing it to try and help them. If they see the mistakes they made in the past and the mistakes they're making right now, hopefully they will learn and not make those mistakes again. Also, this took a lot longer for me to talk about than I thought. But in the end, it was worth it, and I've had fun learning about their mistakes and learning a bit of history about the company. Anyway, I don't really have much to say here, so I'll end it with this. The channel recently passed 200 subscribers, so I just want to say thank you for 200. Let's see if we can get to 300, I don't know. That's about it. Thanks for watching.